Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us live from the market site in Times Square, New York City, we have Marex and Sara Mehle from our index team with Nasdaq Investment Intelligence. We're going to review May performance for the indexes and look at some of the themes that actually did outperform. And it's great to have you guys both in studio with us. And Mark, what's interesting is we actually saw some green relative to when everything was red in April. So it's nice to see some of the indexes perform in May.
Yeah, absolutely, Jill. Month ago was a bloodbath, right? Most indexes that we track, there's about 100 of them in this report, were down for the month. In May, you see much more of a mixed picture, and even the ones that were down, like a lot of these featured indexes, the Nasdaq 100, the Nasdaq Composite, the losses were just a lot more muted, right? And so when you look at some of the green on the screen, you can see the Q50, which is kind of more of a mid-cap index. That was slightly up for the month. That kind of mirrors what you see on the right-hand side of the chart with the Nasdaq US mid-cap benchmark up for the month just slightly. KBW Bank Index, the big outperformer here, that's kind of the more of the value cyclical reflation-friendly index in this suite. But either way, we kind of saw that recovery in the second half of May. Even though tech was down, Nasdaq 100 was down for the month, you saw a pretty healthy recovery during that last week. So pretty encouraging to see that, and hopefully that continues this month.
And Sara, if we take a look at the next slide here, dividend and green economy seemed to really do well last month.
Yeah, so within the green economy suite, we really saw solar outperform along with wind, especially relative to water, which underperformed. But over in the dividend suite, we definitely saw strength there, both U.S. and international. The top performer there was the U.S. Dividend 50 Index, Dividend Achievers Index, up a little over 5%. We saw the Technology Dividend Index outperform broader technology, and then the Nasdaq Select Canadian Preferred Shares Index was up a little over 4%. So strong outperformance there from those dividend stocks.
All right, and Mark, if we move along to the next set of indexes, we want to look here a little bit more on the technical side, more of the momentum indexes that we follow.
Yeah, so I'm going to start off actually by talking about this bullet shares suite that we have. It's a fixed income index suite in the upper left there. The thing I want to draw your attention to is the fact that we were actually positive on a number of these indexes in May. You hear a lot of talk about the death of 60-40, right? What does a high inflationary rising rate environment mean for 60-40? It means that you're getting a lot of the times pain both on the fixed income and on the equity side. In May, it's not a coincidence that you saw parts of the fixed income market, especially in the US, kind of stabilize, rates kind of capped around 3% on the 10-year. And that, I think, in turn led to some stabilization in equities, because you think about typically what we're used to, the last 20 years, equities going down in a bear market, fixed income kind of balances out some of those losses, right? You get some natural rebalancing flows back into equities. That's kind of supportive of equities getting some bounce even in a period of weakness. We haven't really had that this year, but in May we kind of saw, again, those rates kind of reach a ceiling, fixed income start to recover a little bit, equities start to stabilize a little bit. We'll see if that goes, continues to go forward. But then we've got this other story happening also on the momentum side of the market, which Sara will walk us through.
Yeah, so on the momentum side, we really have seen sustained strength from energy. Dorsey Wright Energy Tech Leaders Index up 15.2% over just the last month. Year to date, up a little over 65%. So really strong outperformance there from those energy momentum leaders. We also saw outperformance there with the Dorsey Wright Focus 5, which 40% of that index is energy. So again, just really strong from that sector and overall sector rotation. Also saw some outperformance within tech and utilities, and then just as well as the Dorsey Wright Technical Leaders, which is just like a pure momentum kind of mid-large cap play.
And Mark, let's wrap up here with the Nasdaq thematic suite and tech indexes.
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest takeaway from this one is it's a mixed story, right? There's a lot more performance dispersion in May. You saw certain areas within thematics, within technology get a bit of a bounce, where you saw, the continued weakness, I think, was in a lot of the still smaller cap, more speculative areas. You look at the bottom of this chart, you see a handful of kind of biotech and healthcare related indexes. The Nasdaq Biotech Index actually did pretty well. It was down only about 1% for the month, but junior biotech down almost 10%. Healthcare innovators, health tech, with Lux, another index that underperformed, and it's largely again a result of the fact that with rates as high as they are, the speculative parts of the market just continue to kind of have the most nervousness from investors around valuations, that part of the market hasn't stabilized as much as I think, the more established players within something like biotech, or for example, even within cloud computing, right? You see the emerging cloud index down almost 12%, regular cloud computing index down only 7%. So you're seeing that dispersion even within themes, not just across themes. And then I know, Sara, you wanted to point out a couple other areas where we saw some relative strength in thematics.
Right, so even within technology, I thought it was a kind of interesting dispersion just on the outperformance of the semiconductors and indexes, the Nasdaq US Smart Semiconductors as well as the Philips Semiconductor Index. And then also just the outperformance we saw within the clean edge suite. We did see water finish relatively flat, but we saw substantial outperformance there from the Nasdaq Clean Edge Green Energy Index in May. So.
All right, Sara, Mark, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.